good morning, and welcome back for another Bible Coffee. I'm sorry to say that, again, I am here by myself. Megan's not able to make it, but Bianca's here, and you just saw her pass by in the background. So Megan's going to get back with us as soon as possible, but just please keep her in your prayers and everything at this time. And she is also with us in spirit, as she's with us Tuesdays and Thursdays on the live chat as this premieres. And of course, we also talked a little bit, and she helped me prepare, so I've got a few things from her to share with you as well. But let's stop messing around and dig right in. Today we're on Genesis chapter 20. So let's just dig in. Please remember that I'll be reading from the column on the right, the JPS Tanakh translation, while the column on the left is the NRSV. You are welcome and invited to follow along on the right or the left, or on your Bibles at home, or just listen as we read. Chapter 20. Abraham journeyed from there to the region of the Negeb, and settled between Kadesh and Shur. While he was sojourning in Gerar, Abraham said of Sarah his wife, "She's my sister." So King Abimelech of Gerar had Sarah brought to him. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, "You are to die because of the woman that you've taken, for she's a married woman." Now Abimelech had not approached her, and he said, "O Lord, will you slay people even though innocent? He himself said to me, 'She's my sister,' and she also said, 'He's my brother.' When I did this, my heart was blameless, and my hands were clean." And God said to him in the dream, "I knew that you did this with a blameless heart, and so I kept you from sinning against me. That was why I did not let you touch her. Therefore restore the man's wife. Since he is a prophet, he will intercede for you to save your life. If you fail to restore her, know that you shall die, you and all that are yours." Early next morning, Abimelech called his servants and told them all that had happened, and the men were greatly frightened. Then Abimelech summoned Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? What wrong have I done to you, that you should bring such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done to me things that ought not to be done." "What then," Abimelech demanded of Abraham, "was your purpose in doing this thing?" "I thought," said Abraham, "surely there's no fear of God in this place, and they'll kill me because of my wife. And besides, she is in truth my sister, my father's daughter, though not my mother's, and she became my wife. So when God made me wander from my father's house, I said to her, 'Let this be the kindness that you shall do me. Whatever place we come to, say there of me, he is my brother.'" Abimelech took sheep and oxen and male and female slaves, and gave them to Abraham, and he restored his wife Sarah to him. And Abimelech said, "Here, my land is before you. Settle wherever you please." And to Sarah he said, "I herewith give your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. This will serve you as vindication before all who are with you, and you are cleared before everyone." Abraham then prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his slave girls, so that they bore children. For the Lord had closed fast every womb of the household of Abimelech because of Sarah, the wife of Abraham. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of the Lord lives forever. And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Well, he did it again. Oh, Abraham. So yeah, this is the second time that Abraham passes Sarah off as a sister. And of course we know that she actually is a sister, his half-sister anyway, and even it just explained that in the passage. But second time he does it. And so one of the things that Megan wanted to make sure that I mentioned is that she's starting to have some more questions about Abraham again. She was just getting to feeling really good about him, and now she's having some more questions. So here he's journeying to the region of the Negeb, which that is the desert region south of Hebron. So if you're at Jerusalem, you go south, you get to Hebron. You go south of that, you get to the Negeb, which is the desert. And so around that area, which is around Hebron, and so he gets there, and he says of his wife, "She's my sister," and Abimelech believes him, takes Sarah into the house. Except this time, as there was question with whether something happened between Pharaoh and Sarai at the time, that's still a question that's not addressed, and we just have our assumptions. Here, it's actually addressed that nothing happened, and actually God prevented that from happening. So this is a big difference from the first time. So we know for sure that nothing happened with Sarah. And it's interesting that God came to Abimelech in order to stop anything from happening. God came to him in a dream. He wasn't a person of Abraham's faith, but God still reached out and spoke to him and prevented him from sinning because he didn't have any idea. It wasn't his fault, like he said, and like he was defending himself. I like that God steps up to protect Abimelech, knowing that he didn't do it on purpose. So, that can raise some questions about intentions, right? He had good intentions going into it, and thankfully God stopped him from doing anything wrong. We have a saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. It just comes to my mind to ask, well, if we have good intentions in something, and we're about to make a mistake, does God always do something, some kind of sign, some kind of message to help us prevent doing that thing that we shouldn't do? I don't know, because actually when you get to the next part of the story, apparently God didn't stop Abraham from doing what he did. And this is a whole nother issue, because was Abraham's action a sin or not? Now, in the first time, it's still kind of ambiguous, but we know that he asked Sarai to cover for him in Egypt and on the way down. And here he kind of tells that again. He said, when we left my father's house, I asked Sarah to do this kindness for me. So this is Sarah doing it on her own free will. It's not like he just tricked her into doing it. This is the best plan he could come up with, I guess. But clearly, he crossed Abimelech. Clearly, at least Abimelech felt like he'd done some wrong to him. Said, what wrong have I done to you that you should bring so great a guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done to me things that ought not to be done. So Abimelech definitely felt like Abraham did the wrong thing there. And Abraham defends him and said, I just did it because I thought I would get killed. And so we did that. And then he explains this time, so that's different again from the first time. This time he actually explains, in truth, she's my sister, my father's daughter, but not my mother's. So Abraham gets off with technicality here. I'm not sure that I'm very comfortable with that, but he gets off on a technicality. I didn't technically lie, because she really is my sister. And also with the thing with Abimelech, technically I asked in the first place, so she was doing this kindness for me. So it's like it gets off on technicalities. I still struggle with that, even though some other things are cleared up. In the end, he becomes even more rich than he was before. This is a theme. Abraham just is able to continue to accumulate and accumulate, and that's what happens here. He gives Abraham any part of the land he chooses. So now not only does Abraham have God's permission to be in whatever part of Israel he wants to, but he also now has Abimelech's permission to be in whatever part of the area of Abimelech's he wants. So this explains a lot about the continuing buildup of Abraham. And then, as we see also, Abraham is a prophet, actually stated here. He's a prophet, and God reminds Abimelech that Abraham will pray for him and take the guilt off him. And apparently that even for the time being, Abimelech's family was then unable to have children for a little while until Abraham prayed for it, and they were healed. So then that speaks also to the power of prayer, the power of intercession, the power of praying for each other. That's what intercession is. It's praying for each other. And there's power in that. We find from some of these earliest stories the power of prayer. So please don't fall short on your prayer lives. Please keep them going. And you never know you never know, because maybe God really does give us signs to not do something, whether we have good intentions or not. And maybe God is speaking to us, and maybe we're just not listening. Maybe God's saying stuff loud and clear, but we've got our ears shut off. So being in a spirit of prayer will help us be better listeners for what God would have us do. So there is another thing that is just a fun thing to think about that we mentioned before the first go around of this when they were in Egypt, is that this comes back around. This is a second time this happens. And this is really non-consequential for the story. So this is a fun thing to think about, a theological debate, what have you. And this is about thinking of these two stories. Are they two separate times that Abraham tries to pass off his wife as being his sister? Or are they actually the same ancient story that was told in different regions that ended up getting written down in different ways and then got compiled together, essentially telling the one story of Abraham, doing that twice, but in different ways in different places? So I would invite you to just think about that a little bit because it's fun to think. Traditionally, the idea with the Bible is that all these stories just go; they actually happen the way they're told in this order that we find them. And then there's a theory out there called source theory, which we talked about before. And what the idea here is that this version may have come from a different source than the first version came from, and that's why they're different yet the same. Just something fun to think about. I like to pick your all's brains, and I appreciate y'all being here so much. It's such a blessing. So, today, I've got another picture for you. Last time, Linda Pop won again. Linda is really good at this game. We're all going to have to be on top of our game to beat her. Linda guessed it. That picture of the water is the Jordan River. And the reason we're showing you the Jordan River is because the cities of the plain that got destroyed, well, Sodom and Gomorrah were two cities of the plain. That's the Jordan Plain. That is a plain that is around Jordan where some cities were built up and a lot of these things happened. So we just wanted to show you that and see if anybody could guess that it is the Jordan River. And that's a lot of, there's a lot of important stuff that went on with that river for other reasons too. So keep that in mind. So yeah, today we leave you with thinking about what it means to tell the truth. As far as Abraham was concerned, he told a half-truth. He didn't really lie, but it wasn't all the truth. So how should we be about half-truths like that as people of God? Should we go around telling half-truths for our own concocted reasons in order to achieve whatever goal we're looking for? Here in Abraham, his goal was to stay alive. Clearly in this story, just like in the last story, but in the last story he also says, so maybe things will go well with us if we do this also. And he doesn't say that, or at least I don't see it anywhere in this second time it happens. However, the same thing in both stories, Abraham does end up accumulating an awful lot of stuff and an awful lot of wealth, so we think about what exactly all of his intentions were, and both times we can think about that, because he comes out with an awful lot. As you see today, I've got my Ferrari cup, right, so he's having stuff like that. The ancient versions of Ferraris and living the good life. You know, I've got a Ferrari cup, and I've got a Ferrari in a video game, but I don't have one in real life, so all I can do is dream of how Abraham was living, because they came out really well. But we should think about that. Telling the truth, and the whole truth. Now that's a line that Ryan might recognize all too well. And then in the end it all comes back to trusting in God. Actually listening for what God would have us do, and listening for those signs and those messages to tell us not to do the things that we might otherwise have done. Let us open our ears and hearts to the Spirit of the Lord, and may we hear the Lord speak. Oh, and of course Bianca wanted to come say hi, so hey everybody. She's just hanging out, enjoying some coffee with me. Well, and enjoying some Bible too. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us again, and God bless you. Hope to see you soon. Remember, we'll be back next Tuesday, and we're going to look for a winner for today's picture. what you see before you today is a view of a city in Israel, and this is a very important city and one that will ring very familiar to anybody who recognizes anything in that city. So um, let us know if you've got the answer for today. What city is this? And people have gone. We'll see you again next time. God bless you.